Good afternoon. So as you're all aware, we had two gun-related homicides less than 2 hours apart yesterday in broad daylight. These were not random incidents, and I'm here to say today that this cannot continue. We stand here today as a snapshot of our community. Joining me today are representatives of our elected officials, federal and state agencies, our first responders, school officials, faith-based leaders, community activists, and family members who have lost loved ones to gun violence. Our voices are joined today to amplify the message that it takes all of us to make this community safer. I made it clear that crime reduction and community engagement were two of my primary 4 focus areas, and this group today represents this goal that we all share. Let me recap and update you on yesterday's tragedies. After a group altercation, 2 males were shot in the parking lot at the gas station at Republica de Cuba and Columbus Drive. Officers and paramedics provided first aid until the subjects were transported to the hospital. We quickly identified and located all the parties involved and recovered what is believed to be the guns involved in yesterday's incident. Everyone at that altercation knew each other. It appears that this was an escalation from an argument between 2 parties that started just a few weeks ago. But violence did not solve this problem. In this case, we have a 24-year-old male and a 15-year-old male, both armed with guns. The result is a 21-year-old male dead, the 15-year-old in stable condition, and he's currently in the hospital with a gunshot wound. Detectives have conducted interviews and are now consulting with the state attorney's office to determine what charges are applicable in this case. Less than 2 hours later, in the 4300 block of North 35th Street, officers were again dispatched to the report of a shooting. They arrived to the crime scene and soon learned that the adult male gunshot victim had already been transported in a private vehicle to the local hospital where he in fact died. Detectives right now are following up on very promising leads from that case. We appreciate all the information we've gotten from the community, and we will provide additional updates in this case as soon as they're made available. We as a community have to keep guns out of the hands of those who should not have them to begin with. Just since the beginning of the month alone, we have made 6 arrests for felon in possession of firearm cases. These felons should not have guns in the first place. What can you do to help us make our community safer? First of all, if you know someone who illegally is possessing a firearm, let us know. Let us know. Let Crime Stoppers know. Use the app. Use Tip 411 to text a tip. Let somebody know. But always remember that you can remain anonymous. We need your help to get that gun out of the hands before they can use it. Anybody illegally possessing a gun in the city of Tampa this summer will be arrested. This year alone, we've had 78 guns stolen from unlocked vehicles. 78. Every legal gun owner should secure their gun in a safe place. We don't want any more legally owned guns to end up into the hands of someone with criminal intent to use that gun in a malicious manner. Representative Diane Hart responded to both shooting scenes with me yesterday. I was very grateful to have her there with me. She's going to share her perspective next, not only as an elected official, but also as a resident of that community. In closing, I would just like to say that myself and no members of the Tampa Police Department want to have to tell another family member that their loved one is no longer with them due to senseless gun violence. The gun violence has to end right now, and I think we all have to agree that we've all talked about it enough and it's time for action. Representative Hart.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My heart is pretty heavy this afternoon because I had to stand there and hear those families scream. And if you could just imagine the scream that I heard when they walked up to find that their loved one had been murdered right at their own front door. how difficult that had to be. But I'm asking all of you all are on social media. Those of you who are combing social media just for the fun of it, you see these kids with these guns. Because periodically my grandchildren bring them to me and show me who's out talking about what kind of weapons they have. These kids have weapons of mass destruction. I need you all, when you see these kids with these guns, tell somebody. Somebody just did a video a few weeks ago with all kinds, it was 6 of them with different kinds of guns. Listen, you all see them, you know who they are. We cannot continue this. It is summer. Children are going to be out all summer long. It's hot. Tempers are running rampant. But community, we are a community. We're better than this. We cannot continue to allow another senseless death to occur in our community or in our city. So I am begging all of you, parents, you got mad at me one time when I told you, shake down your children's rooms. Shake them down. You all know when kids bring things into the house they shouldn't be. We cannot put blinders on. I cannot stand around and say, oh, well, you know, it does happen. No, it does not happen. Not in our community. I was born and raised in this community. This is not what I'm accustomed to. And now it's my district to represent. We must do better, community. We need you. We need you. See something, say something. You see the people standing behind you. Each and every one of us are happy for you to tell us. If you see somebody with a gun or parent, you pick it up, call one of us, any one of us, elected officials or community people. We will turn them in for you. So please, community, you've got to do your part. We cannot do it without you. And Chief, I just applaud you for being there yesterday. We're going to be all over our community. And the people you see standing with us today, all of us are going to be on these streets. We're going to take it back to when we had the white hat days. We've got to do that. So thank you all for being here.
Questions?
Chief, I just spoke with a woman maybe about an hour ago. She lost her daughter to gun violence in December. And I asked her, I said, hey, we're going to a press conference. What would you like to hear from TPD? She said, I think that there should be harsher penalties for people who bring out a gun, who have a stolen weapon. She said, because this man who killed my daughter was already on their radar, and they let him go. What would you say to that?
I would say that we continuously work very, very closely with our partners to make sure that the penalties are appropriate for the crime. I think that there's always, mitigating factors that we have to consider, whatever those are. The number of convictions in the past, how serious the charges appropriately are. I think that the more important message is to get the person off the street as quickly as possible. Like, that's why I stressed that we already got the guns involved and we've already got the people involved in yesterday's murder. And that's very quick, very good police work, very swift. The longer that these cases go, the more difficult it is for all of us in this community to make sure that the appropriate penalties are assessed.
Chief, can you just clarify exactly how many people you have in custody or not in each particular case, and how many suspects there may be out there you're still looking for case by case?
So the people at the convenience store yesterday were involved in an altercation. We have everybody identified. There's multiple people, but we don't have anybody in custody until we unravel exactly what happened out there yesterday. So we do have one deceased individual and one 15-year-old that's recovering from a gunshot wound.
No one's been arrested yet.
Not yet.
And then in the second
This
incident,
second one, we have one deceased individual. We have very good leads that we're working on in order to identify who that suspect is. But let me just reiterate, in the first incident, from a safety perspective, these detectives and these officers worked very hard not only to identify the subjects involved in Columbus Avenue, but to also recover the firearms that we believe were involved in the incident.
the second question I have is, I'm just going to come out and ask it. Can you confirm whether an AR-15 was used in the second killing?
I cannot confirm that. No, I don't.
Are you saying not?
I'm not saying not. I'm saying I don't have those details in front of me right now.
You're not saying no.
I'm not saying no.
Chief, have you looked for a common thread as to why we're seeing an increase in gun violence? I mean, obviously there's guns on the streets, but is there something that is pushing this? We have an increase in shootings, increase in murders. Is there something behind it?
Yeah, I think Representative Hart really summarized it when she said that these young people are arguing and letting it all out on social media. It's not something that we were ever able to wrap our heads around 25, 30 years ago, when we could just go on social media and really not have any oversight of what we're doing on social media. So it's important that we, as a community, identify something on social media that may not look quite right and get that post, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, into the hands of the right official that can take a look at it. I think that, you know, we're very social media savvy as a society, and we need to realize that it's not only birthday parties and, you know, that are being shared on social media, that there's also bad guys that are sharing pictures of themselves with guns and making threats on social media.
Can you explain maybe more what this heat map is and what it represents?
The heat map represents where the homicide victims have occurred this year and the shootings. So when you,
Of this year?
excuse me?
Sorry, since the beginning of 2022?
Yes, since the beginning of this year, shootings and homicides in the city of Tampa.
And so the hot spots would be what?
The hot spots would be where the highest incidence of shootings and homicides are, correct?
Last question.
Chief, have you acquired the social media arguing and posts in these particular cases, and you have them, your detectives are looking at them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this all happened less than 24 hours ago, so the detectives have been working feverishly, number one, to make the scene safe. Let me get these guns off the street. Let me get these people identified so I know what I'm dealing with. And now the latent aspect comes into it to try to build the case and make the case better in order to, you know, comb the social medias. We don't automatically know who the handle names are. When we have a name, then we can get a little bit deeper into the investigative efforts to try to get the social media posts.
You are looking at social media.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.